why do-it-yourself site builders are do-yourself in bummers. I'm going to give you a brief overview of why opting to use one of these free site builders will ultimately leave you disappointed. Here are 6 reasons why I go through and explain why using a free site builder will leave you not only disappointed, but without the one and most important thing you cannot afford to lose. Number 6, you don't own the website. Should you ever decide that you'd want to pick up and move, you will find that you can't. You will also likely be forced to start all over again. In other words, you can't migrate it or move it over to a new company, so now you're stuck with having to rebuild it again from scratch. Most sites like these are non-transferable. Number 5, bad SEO, search engine optimization. You see, these sites are not ultimately built for SEO, and as a result, you can end up with a site that will not work with organic SEO. Worse yet, some force you to pay extra if you want this option, or for that matter, if you want to upgrade it. In other words, you won't be able to control your site's SEO either. Again, we touch on a subject that is likely something you won't even know how to do. So why would you want to try and implement something like this into your own site? You could end up wasting a lot more time on a part of a website that you probably did not think about or even realize you'd have to acquire a whole new skill set just to learn how to apply. Number 4, their company URL and unwanted ads. With some of these free do-it-yourself builders, you might find that you're stuck with using the company naming as part of your domain name. This quite loudly announces whose ownership is really had. In other words, if you're looking for something that is branded specifically for you, the last thing you want to have and be forced to use is a third party's company name as part of your site. Also, unfortunately, this tends to announce to your audience that you are cheap, and therefore you can quickly lose the professionalism that your business is conveying to the audience. In other words, it ceases to exist altogether. So, how can you expect your audience to not only take you serious, but in addition, how would you hope that they would be moved to spend the kind of money you're asking for when it comes to your awesome service? You don't have to spend $1 million to look like $1 million. That is true. But you do have to be willing to invest into it what you'd like to get out of it. In other words, your business is valuable. Your time is valuable. You are valuable. Number 3, limited storage and features. You are often limited to what overall size the website will be in terms of its hosted space. Also, you are going to be quite limited when it comes to features. You see, many of these items are not only considered extra, but they are billed as such. So if you wish to have extra features as part of the new site, with much of the billing being ongoing, you can find that things will quickly add up. In the long run, you end up paying more than what you had originally anticipated to pay, or for that matter, to get as part of your free site. Number 2, you will have to know about file types. So this is where things are going to start to get a bit technical. What a lot of do-it-yourself sites don't tell you, whether they're free or a small fee based, is that you will need to know what kind of files are best to use when piecing together your site. So for example, did you know that there are types of files called JPEGs, TIFFs, GIFs, PNGs, and more? Did you even know that there's a difference between these file types I've just mentioned? Do you know that there are different resolutions when it comes to these file types on top of being named differently? Do you even know what resolution is? Yes, a lot of this information is something they don't tell you about, that if you don't know how to use or work, it's going to be extremely frustrating. I think one of the biggest things is they're not telling you is that if you upload the wrong kind of file, that you can run into all sorts of problems too, especially if you're trying to ensure that the website's going to be mobile friendly. So in other words, you want to have the website be as small as possible file size wise, so that anybody accessing your site will be able to do easily, and it will load quickly on their phones. These technical details, among many more, are items that do-it-yourself companies do not dare broach. And they claim they have built in, but ultimately they don't. Last but not least, one of my biggest concerns with these places are that they will have images for you to use. So that in itself is not so bad. But what is the fact that there are probably hundreds, if not thousands of others out there that are using the same image for their website. And the last thing you want to do is to copy somebody else, or for that matter, be copied by somebody else. So technical experience and expertise is a big component when it comes to building websites. And there is no platform that exists by these companies that can give you an all-in-one solution like so many of them claim. Number 1, a waste of your time. Let's say you charge $85 an hour and you spend 20 to 25 hours on your do-it-yourself site, at least. Well, you've essentially just spent just over $2,000 on a site that you could have instead given to a reputable web design and development business. And they would have done a much more superior job style-wise, as well as create a fully functional website that would be given to full imagination and executed with precision. I feel kind of big on this one. I have had several clients of mine come to me who have tried do-it-yourself websites only to be left disappointed, that they are left with a website they are not satisfied with, that they do not think conveys their message very well. And the one thing that they regret most is the fact that they have lost so much time and so much energy on something they tried to do themselves. Many of them ended up being months behind in their business as a result. So these are just a few reasons why I encourage you to stay away from these kind of do-it-yourself builders. One of my biggest concerns is that they are not ultimately honest with their customers when it comes to how much work a person will find themselves taking on, as well as how much technical savviness will actually be required when it comes to just implementing a site's content. And that would be things like adding in text or pictures, forms, and can even include payment processors, I can't say that, processors, and SEO, as I've mentioned a bit earlier. I personally have experienced many of my clients who have come to me after attempting to build their own website who were left frustrated, and most of all who are left with a bunch of lost time that they invested, and unfortunately time that they cannot ever get back. Some of them even lost months of time. So they were late and things did not blossom like they had hoped as a result. Last but not least, I feel that these services are based on a cookie cutter motto. In other words, everyone is required to fit within their stipulations and within their bounds. Who wants that? Moreoverly, who needs that? Well, I don't think you do. After all, you have truly been called to something bigger and greater. Shouldn't your branding and or your website be a direct reflection of this?